Like, here's the thing about Howland Reed that's interesting, right? Is that he went and fought at the Tower of Joy, which means that if he was the person that kind of led to the meeting of Lyanna and Rhaegar, if he did that, then he would have had believed that Rhaegar did kidnap Lyanna because he was fighting for that cause. But then he would have saw that Lyanna gave birth to Jon. So he's one of the only
Well,
people in
see,
the
and
world who
that's
knows that.
yes, that's where the big theory, because I don't think that like N plus A equals J, which is like Ned plus Ashara.
No.
I'm out on that. I do think the second most likely thing is that Meera is Jon's twin.
Yeah,
I
that
think
one, that's a pretty interesting theory.
because that to me allows for a bunch of other theories to exist. Then it would set up a scenario in which Howland and Ned get down there, because I don't think they even fight. I think they get down there, they tell him, hey, Rhaegar's dead, here's what's going on. They hear a baby cry, and I think like save for Howland as Howland like calms the situation down, and we create the thing in which Arthur Dayne like goes to the wall and everybody goes up there, and it's like a whole big other deal. Because to me, the whole fact that Rhaegar would leave Arthur Dayne, like you could send, I don't know, you could send Barristan Selmy down there. You could send, I know Barristan has his own stuff, which, because he sort of kind of loved Ashara and some of these other things too.
Yeah.
But I just don't see, it's still just so shocking to me that he sends Arthur Dayne to protect Lyanna at the Tower of Joy, which with Jon, and doesn't have him on the field of battle where he's going he's going to go one-on-one with Robert Baratheon.
Well, you have to remember, so two things. One, Rhaegar thinks that this child is the most important thing in the world. It is literally the prophecy fulfilled.
We think.
And
Right.
Rhaegar's delusional. Rhaegar's delusional, thinking he could beat Robbie Baratheon one-on-one. And in any other fantasy story, Rhaegar would have won because that's Prince Charming. But instead, he was destroyed by a warhammer, and the belligerent, big-chested brute wins, right? Conan wins. So I think that should tell us how important Rhaegar felt this birth was, is that he sent literally the best to guard it, right? So I think that shows that Rhaegar probably valued this kid's life over his own.
Because the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy
that
we're seeing in House of the Dragon play out now, which is so sweet.
Well, and another thing, folks, listen, I know that we got the parentage reveal in the show, and I know a lot of the listeners are show watchers. This is why the books are more interesting, because that scene is not just going to be Jon we find out that it's Jon. We know this. There are so many other things that have to happen at the Tower of Joy. Arthur Dayne's demise or escape, Ned and Ashara and that relationship, and why is he takes the sword back and then they name a kid after him.
Yeah, I know. And see, that's why I believe Arthur Dayne's still alive. Because I just don't see a scenario in which, and that's the other thing about Meera too, like that. It's what almost makes me, and maybe it's just we're in a Meera chapter where it almost makes me believe that Meera is Jon's twin, because then it gives us a reason why Howland Reed would never leave the Neck in a time of peace, right? Because if he comes and he brings his daughter, and people are like, wow, Meera and Jon kind of look alike, and people might start putting the pieces together. Even as readers, we're like, now, hold on a second. I mean, this is, the first time I figured out R plus L equals J before I realized it was the biggest theory in the world, because I was just reading it and not putting the pieces together. Because that's what drove me in, really. When I watched the first few episodes, like, well, I got to figure out who like Jon Snow's mom is. This is like the whole deal, right? I was like, this has to be like the whole key to the whole story, right? And I started thinking about it. I was like, hold on a second here. How is it that Ned Stark, the most loyal dude ever, slips up with some random barmaid, comes and hold on, he gets back, and it would take all this time, and you have to have 9 months to have a baby, so he would have had to have had a kid, then go picks the, you know what I mean? He goes you start doing the math, and you're like, none of this adds up. So the fact that Howland Reed would never leave the Neck in times of peace, which like people can't even find the thing. I mean, it's almost like clicking your garage door closed. Once it's closed, people aren't going to get in, man. It's like nobody knows how to get there. Like they can't drive horses and stuff in. So it's like you could pretty freely leave and go north if you wanted to go see your old friend. But it could be because if he shows up with this kid and people are like, wow, Meera's kind of the same age as Jon, and she kind of looks like him. And hold on a second, didn't Ned and Howland like hang out a bunch when they were riding in the 9 month? And they start doing the math. I might be like, wow, it's because they're like twins.
Yeah, the only thing I think would be tough is that we know that Lyanna's last words are Ned promise me, not
I know.
Ned and Howland promise me, right? So I kind of
that's because she might just be talking to her. That's just because she might just be talking to her brother.
Yeah, they said that Howland is the one that removed his Ed and Lyanna's hands, right? Whenever he's holding her hand while she dies. But
where is that at?
It's in the book. It's like Eddard found Lyanna and was with his sister when she died. Howland was among those who found Ned still holding Lyanna, silent with grief.
Oh,
remember, was the person who took Lyanna's hand from Eddard's.
Yeah.
So my only thing is like if we're gonna say it's Ned's bastards, like having a twin is worse than having one, right? Like you would just say, I had bastards like together, and then they could still grow up together. Like I don't know what the point of separating them would be, I guess. Now, what I will tell you is that it is very interesting that Meera looks like Jon. Is described very similarly to Jon. You want to hear some crackpot theory? You ready?
Yeah.
What if Howland Reed and Lyanna had at some point?
Well, the whole deal is her age.
I'm saying he's a spearman. You know what I'm saying?
Right. The whole deal is her age, and the fact that we never hear anything about her mother. Like that's the other thing that's sort of interesting.
Yeah, where do these kids pop out from?
Right, and again, it's also this is where we might be a little more influenced by the show, right? Because show Meera looks an awful lot like show Jon.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Like maybe the books it's not as, it's certainly it might not be like as different, but show Meera, I mean her hair, dude. I mean, is that the same hairstylist? Do it. I mean, I know they have different.
It's actually
Kit. Dude, I mean, look at him though. I mean, seriously, they look like they could be brother and sister.
So I put the Meera is Jon's twin into the same bucket that I put Cersei and Jaime are Targaryens, where it's like, well, there's enough there to where like you could say this is a possibility, but most likely
I think it's a step above that, because like Cersei and Jaime being Targaryens really only does like it's like small level stuff, like it doesn't impact the story, whereas like this is like big, this could be a big deal.
Well, it does. So the Cersei and Jaime thing, it definitely helps the story in the sense that it's another slight to Tywin that his only real child would have been Tyrion in the first place. So that would have been interesting, but I don't think that's the case. Like I don't believe that theory, but I do like thinking about that theory. I think the timeline unfortunately does not match. So
right.